In January 2005, a 27-year-old hiker named Aron Ralston set out alone into the canyons of Utah. No one knew where he was, no rescue team was on standby, and within hours he would be trapped completely alone, with no food, less than a liter of water, and a 800-pound boulder pinning his right arm against a canyon wall. What followed is one of the most brutal, heartbreaking, and ultimately inspiring survival stories ever documented. This is the story of 127 hours. Aron Ralston was not a careless man. He was an experienced outdoorsman who had climbed all 59 of Colorado's peaks above 14,000 feet, solo. He was confident, maybe a little too confident. On April 26th, 2003, not 2005, let me correct that, Aron drove out to Canyonlands National Park in Utah for a solo canyoneering trip. He didn't tell anyone where he was going. He left no note, no itinerary, nothing. He parked his truck at a trailhead and set off into the desert. The plan was simple: hike, rappel down some canyon slots, and be back by nightfall. A perfect day in the wild. And for the first few hours, it was exactly that. Deep inside a narrow slot canyon called Blue John Canyon, Aron was carefully navigating a tight passage when he reached out to grip a large boulder lodged in the canyon walls above him. The boulder shifted. In a fraction of a second, 800 pounds of sandstone came crashing down. Aron tried to jump back, but it was too late. The rock pinned his right hand and wrist against the canyon wall. He didn't scream. He didn't panic. At first, he tried to push the boulder. He tried to chip at it with his multi-tool. He tried everything he could think of. Nothing worked. The boulder was immovable, and Aron Ralston was completely, utterly alone, trapped in a canyon so narrow that sunlight barely reached the bottom. Day 1 passed, then day 2. The temperature at night dropped below freezing. During the day, the sun barely reached him. He had about 350 milliliters of water left, less than a single can of soda, and 2 small burritos. He rationed everything, every sip, every bite. By day 3, he began drinking his own urine to stay alive. He carved his name, date of birth, and what he believed would be his date of death into the canyon wall. He made a video on his small camera, saying goodbye to his family. He recorded his own farewell message, not knowing if anyone would ever find it. He had visions, hallucinations. He saw a small child running toward him, a child he somehow knew was his future son. That vision, he later said, is what kept him going. But the clock was ticking. His arm had begun to die. The tissue was decaying. He could smell it. On the 5th day, April 30th, 2003, Aron made a decision that most of us cannot even imagine. He would have to cut off his own arm. But his cheap multi-tool couldn't cut through bone. He had tried. The blade was dull, the task impossible, until he realized something horrifying. If he twisted his arm in the right direction, the bones would snap. And so he did it. First, he snapped both bones in his forearm against the boulder. Then, using a small 2-inch blade, he began to cut through his own flesh. No anesthesia, no help, just sheer will to live. It took about an hour. When it was done, he rappelled down a 65-foot drop with one arm, bleeding heavily, and hiked nearly 7 miles through the desert before finally encountering a Dutch family on vacation who gave him water and called for help. He was airlifted to a hospital just in time. Aron Ralston survived. He was fitted with a prosthetic arm, and just 2 years later, he was back climbing mountains. His story became a book, Between a Rock and a Hard Place, and then a critically acclaimed film, 127 Hours, directed by Danny Boyle and starring James Franco. But here's what stays with me about this story. It's not just about physical survival. It's about the moment a human being looks death in the face, alone, exhausted, and in unimaginable pain, and chooses life anyway. Aron has said in interviews that being trapped in that canyon was the best thing that ever happened to him, because it taught him that the only thing standing between him and freedom was himself. He even fulfilled that vision he had in the canyon. He later had a son. So the next time life pins you against a wall, and it will, remember Aron Ralston. Sometimes the only way out is through. If you want more true survival stories like this one, hit subscribe. A new one drops every week. Stay safe out there.